Hi everyone, Katarina here. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial today. In this video, I will be creating a card and I will be using the gorgeous stamp set and the lovely papers that came with the latest issue of Simply Cards and Papercraft magazine. And the card that I will be creating will be another of my takes on Elaine's Aperture box front card. I already shared one of my versions of this card, and it was this lovely birthday card, and another version was wedding card. I will link to that in the description box below. As you can see, it's quite way off from the design that Ellen created. Today's card will look so much like hers, but will function differently. So I already used this stamp set on a different card before. I just want to share this here with you very quickly. That lovely woven pattern, which is so stunning, and a lot of you liked it. If you haven't seen that tutorial yet, I will link to it in the description box below. I have already prepared my flowers and elements, and I will talk about this later on in this video. For my card base today, I chose this pale pink cardstock, and this one measures 8.5 by 7, and on the longer side I scored down at 3.5 inches. Another piece of that same pink cardstock measuring 9 inches by 5.5, and I'm going to score down on all four sides at 1/2 inch and at 1 inch. And I'm just gonna go around and do this on all four sides. Before folding and burnishing these score lines, I will run this through my die cutting machine to cut my window aperture in it. I am folding the score line on this other piece, which will give me my 5 by 7 inch card base, essentially, when we come to it in a moment. I took out some of my dusting dies, and these are all from the creative craft product range from Craft Stash, and I wasn't sure which ones I wanted to use, but then I decided I wanted to go with an oval. I'm kind of going through an oval craze at the minute. So I took the filigree die that fitted between those score lines and just a slightly smaller plain oval die, which I will use to cut my window in. First, however, I want to add some pattern paper on top of this, so I'm just going through the papers that came with the magazine, and I'm going to settle for that lovely white one with all different floral designs on it, and I'm going to cut it down to 6 3/4 by 3 1/4 inch. I'm going to glue it in the middle of that rectangle in here. So it's gonna go between all the score lines that we did. Remember, there are 2 score lines on each side, and this piece will perfectly fit in the middle. The middle of that pink cardstock measures 7 by 3.5 inches. Okay, so this is the size that our box will essentially be. You will see in a moment. And I've cut this one down to just 1/4 inch shorter on the 2 sides. Now, once I'm happy that it's nicely in place, I can put my oval die back in a center as I just can go in here using a low-tack tape, because I do not want this to move in the die cutting machine. And once I run it through, I am left with this perfect lovely oval aperture in there, and this oval is perfectly good piece to use on a future card. So now I am folding and burnishing all the fold lines or the score lines on all four sides of this box. And once that's done, I will be left with 4 little squares in each corner. I will show you a little close up here in a second. So each square measures 1/2 inch, and I will have to remove some of those. So I'm adding a little dot in each square in there. I'm cutting up alongside all those score lines, and I'm cutting the 2 outermost ones away and that last one as well. So the only square that I am keeping as my tab to attach the sides together are the one that is closest to both of those sides. I really hope this makes sense. Just repeat the same thing on all 4 corners, and I will be left with those 4 little tabs, which will help me attach the walls of this box together. So I will just use the tab to hold on to the next side of the box and so on. I'm using my quick grab glue to do this because I find it's just easiest. I don't have to sit there forever trying to wait until the glue grabs the other side of the box. And you could use double-sided tape in here too, but I just like the little wriggler liquid glue gives me in here. Now remember, we have two 1/2 inch sections on all four sides in here. We are working on the first one closest to the middle section of our box, okay? So I still have this 1/2 inch of tabs overhanging on the bottom, which I will use to glue it to the base of my card. I, however, want to add some pattern paper in there. If I added the pattern paper and just glued the box on top, you see how those little tabs would show through? And I do not like that look. I do not want that to happen. So I'm just coming in with all the different papers and choosing the one that I like most, that it's not too busy, that would look nice in the background in there. And I decided to go with this pink one, which I cut down to just under 3.5 and by just under 7 inches. And now I will have to glue or attach this piece of cardstock on the inside of that box, meaning that those 1/2 inch tabs will have to come over to the back side of this paper. Now this part of this card making will get a little bit fiddly, but it's doable. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing really hard. It's just a bit fiddly. So I thought it would be easiest if I used some double-sided tape to attach those tabs to this piece of cardstock. And now before removing those backings of the tapes, I just have to make sure that it will be the right size. And because I've cut it just a bit under all those measurements of 3.5 by 7 inches, I know that there will be no bulking in there. So I fold these little tabs out of my way onto the outside of the box now. I am working on one side at a time. So I'm making sure that I lined it up against the score line in there perfectly. And I'm just applying a little pressure with my fingers. And it was quite easy to do because only one side was attached at that point. It is after this that it got a bit fiddly once I removed all these backings of all the red liner tapes. I've cut out some of this footage and it's also sped up quite a bit, so you'll not see how much I played about with it. But once I was happy with how nice and square it looked, I just took my boom folder and I applied pressure on all four sides and I got it nice and square. Now, it did take me a little while to make sure that I was happy with how everything was sitting in there. And once the box was ready, all I had to do is take my double-sided tape and then also some collal glue, and I was gluing it or attaching it to the front of my card to the 3.5 by 7 inch section on the card base. Now I'm removing the backing of the double-sided tape before I apply some liquid glue. And I do love using the combination of both in here. The liquid glue will make sure that I have enough wriggle room to get this properly lined up. I'm finding the best way to do this, and I find it that laying it all on a side or just giving me the best option, or I find it was the best option for me here anyway. And once the glue is spread out nicely, I let it aside to dry while I'm cutting out my frame using the same oval die I cut my window out with and that filigree die that we chose at the start. And it will fit around my window perfectly, obviously, because I used the same size oval. There's two different ways that I like to use my glue on detailed little lacy die cuts like this. So one of them is like in here you can see on a piece of acetate I added some tacky glue, and with a makeup sponge I'm just dabbing it into the glue and adding it around the lacy detail. However, you can see that I only attached one half of it. The other half is has no glue on the lacy detail in there. What I like to do again is add some glue, quick grab glue, dry clear glue on a piece of acetate and push it under that lacy detail. The lace will, or the filigree detail in this case, will grab some of that glue, and then you will be able to apply some pressure with your finger and glue it onto your cardstock. Like in here, I'm showing you just one more time. And this is perfect if you forgot to add glue on some of the parts of the die cut or the glue dried by the time you were able to glue it on top of your project. In here I have some of the flowers already prepared. Some of them have glitter on it. You'll see the little butterfly in there and a dragonfly that I already colored in. I added some glossy accents to the wing too, just to add some more texture to them. I think they look lovely and glossy like that. Now, the coloring medium that I used to color in these images was the Aqua Markers by Spectrum Noir, which I've used on the flowers in a previous project that I shared at the start of this video. And if you go and check that video, you'll see how I was coloring these in as well. For stamping these images, I used the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I used clear gloss embossing powder just to heat emboss these. It adds a lovely glossy detail to all those fine lines. Some of the flowers have glitter, the yellow ones that I showed at the start, and some of those pink ones just in the middle. To arrange my flowers, I'm gonna use all different layers. Some of them will be flat against the background. This one has double-sided foam tape on it, so that already creates a little bit of a dimension. And then some of the flowers will be coming from behind the window onto the front, and then some of them will be glued just onto the front of the card. I'm going to use my liquid glue to attach all my elements to this card. And I like to use liquid glue to reinforce the double-sided foam pads as well. You could see I had a lot of flowers and all different elements already colored in, and fussy cut. I'll not be using all of those on this card. I just really got carried away coloring in a lot of these images because I just love this stamp set so much. I will come back and use it on a different project again. I think these are perfect for spring, perfect for summertime. So if you'd like to see what I'm creating next using this gorgeous stamp set, please be sure to check back onto my channels to see when I upload a new video. If you hit the notification bell, that will get you notified when a new video is uploaded. So I am just adding the last few elements in my card in here. I'm just trying to find the best, or what I like best, positioning for all these lovely flowers. I really love, I know it doesn't show much on the video in here, but I really love the glossy accents on the butterfly and the wings of the dragonfly in there. So I'm just trying to find one flower that looks nice against all the lovely colors in there in the background. I really love how lovely and colorful this is turning out. It looks just so happy. So I'm going to use that lovely butterfly in the corner, and there's a little butterfly that I can add on the inside. The dragonfly goes on the top, and that lovely big butterfly will be going on the bottom left corner. I wanted to add some pattern paper to this 1.5 inch section on the card that is overhanging underneath the box. So I have to cut a pattern piece of paper to 1.25 by 6.75 of an inch, and I'm going with this lovely ivory colored background with these gorgeous butterflies on it. So I'm just using my collal glue to make sure it will sit nice and strong in there. And then I will cut another piece of just plain white cardstock to 6.75 by 3.25 of an inch. And this will be going on the inside of my card underneath that box. Now, there's no room for a sentiment on the outside of this card. I decorated it so much, but I feel like it doesn't always need a sentiment on the outside. I'm just going to add a happy birthday on the inside strip of this card, and I'm using the same VersaFine Onyx Black ink which I used to stamp my images with, and just to have it matching to the outside of the card, I'm going to use the clear gloss embossing powder to add a little bit of a shine to it. There's a lot of room left on this piece of cardstock to write your message onto, but if you would like to add the longer message, or you have a lot of signatures to add, there's a 5 by 7 inch section at the back of this card where you can also leave some messages on if you wish. Using my collal glue to attach this piece on the inside of my card. And I'm just making sure that I'm adding enough pressure there, because there was quite a bit of a warping from the heat embossing. That piece of cardstock wasn't very heavyweight. Now I just decided that I wanted to decorate the outside of that box using the exact same pattern paper that I used on the front. And these strips measure 3/8 of an inch wide. I tried 1/4 of an inch, but it was too thin. I find that I liked a lot more on this. So the two longer ones measure 6.75 of an inch, and the two shorter ones are 3.25 of an inch. And this is finishing my card off. I will show you some close-up pictures at the end of this video. If you would like to see those, just stay tuned. I really hope you got inspired by this lovely tutorial. A big shout out to Elaine for the gorgeous idea for this Aperture box card. I will link to her post in the description box below, so you can go and see her version of this, or versions of this card, because she made a few as well. If you liked today's tutorial, please do not forget to give me the thumbs up and leave me a comment. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please make sure you do so and hit the notification bell to make sure you will get notified and not miss out on any future uploads. I really hope to see you back for the next one. Until then, bye!